The first sound that reached me was the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor, steady and mechanical. The second was pain, sharp, throbbing, all-consuming. And the third thing nearly shattered what little strength I had left. When my eyelids finally fluttered open, the world swam in a hazy blur of white light and sterile shadows. My throat was parched. My body felt as if it had been dragged through broken glass and concrete. Every breath sent a fresh wave of fire across my chest. For a long, disorienting moment, I couldn't remember anything. Then slowly, painfully, my vision cleared. A woman sat beside my hospital bed, clutching my hand between both of hers, as if letting go might cause me to vanish. Tears traced silent paths down her cheeks. Her eyes, those same deep, expressive eyes I once knew better than my own, were locked on me with an intensity that made my battered heart stutter. It was Vivian, my ex-wife. Before we go any further, if stories of kindness, forgiveness, and unexpected second chances move you, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Lifeline Vibes. These stories remind us that sometimes the universe quietly offers us another chance when we've given up on ever deserving one. I blinked hard, certain I was hallucinating from the painkillers. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, slightly messy from days of worry. Her face showed the toll of sleepless nights, red-rimmed eyes, pale skin, and exhaustion etched into every line. Yet she was still breathtaking. The same woman who had once been my entire world. The same woman I had lost 3 long years ago. Her name was Vivian, and seeing her there cracked open every wall I had carefully constructed around my broken heart. The last clear memory I had was driving home after a long business meeting. The afternoon sun had been bright, traffic heavy, my mind cluttered with deadlines, client calls, and endless to-do lists. Then came the blaring horn, the screech of tires, a massive truck appearing out of nowhere, and finally, nothing but darkness. I tried to speak, but my throat felt like it was lined with gravel. A nurse noticed I was awake and quickly summoned the doctors. They swarmed around me, checking vitals, shining lights in my eyes, asking questions I could barely answer. Later, they explained the full extent of the damage. Multiple fractures, a punctured lung, internal bleeding, and a severe concussion. 4 terrifying days. They hadn't been sure I would pull through. For entire days of my life had simply disappeared. When a room finally quieted and we were alone again, my gaze returned to Vivian. The question burned between us. Why are you here? We hadn't shared a real conversation in nearly 3 years. Our divorce had been final, polite, and heartbreakingly final. Our lives had diverged completely. Yet here she was, holding my hand like I was still hers to protect. Before I could force the words out, she lowered her head and began to cry again. Soft, soul-deep sobs that shook her shoulders. Not the loud, dramatic kind. The quiet, devastating kind that only surfaces when someone fears they're about to lose the person they never stopped loving. A kind nurse eventually answered the question I couldn't voice. The paramedics had found my phone in the wreckage. Vivian was still listed as my emergency contact. The hospital called her, and she had arrived just 28 minutes later. For 4 straight days, she had barely left that uncomfortable chair by my bedside. She ate there, slept there, prayed there. Something deep inside my chest twisted painfully. During our marriage, she had once been my best friend, my safe place, my home. We met at 26. I was a young architect sketching dreams on napkins. She was an elementary school teacher with the warmest laugh I'd ever heard. Our first date stretched into 6 magical hours because neither of us could bear to say goodbye. 2 years later, we married. 5 years after that, we bought our little house with a creaky porch and backyard full of wildflowers. Life had felt full of promise then. We laughed until our sides hurt, planned trips we never quite took, and whispered hopes for the future late into the night. Then life grew heavier. My father passed away suddenly. A year later, her mother fell gravely ill. Grief wrapped around us like chains. Instead of turning toward each other, we turned inward. I drowned myself in work projects. She poured everything into caregiving. Conversations became arguments. Arguments faded into cold silence. Silence grew into an ocean of distance. Eventually, the marriage we both loved became unrecognizable. When the divorce papers were signed, we were civil. No screaming, no public tears, just two broken people pretending to be mature. But inside, pieces of us shattered that never quite healed. In the weeks that followed my accident, Vivian became a constant presence. She arrived every morning before the sun rose. She fluffed my pillows, read aloud from books she remembered I loved, sat through every painful physical therapy session, and fearlessly challenged doctors when she felt they weren't being clear enough. One afternoon, I woke from a nap to find her asleep in that same chair, neck bent at an awkward angle, dark circles heavy beneath her eyes. She had given up nearly a week of her own life for a man she no longer owed anything to. That realization hit me harder than any injury. People don't stay through hell out of duty. They stay because their heart won't let them leave. One quiet evening, golden sunlight spilled through the hospital window, painting the room in warm hues. The machines hummed softly around us. For the first time, there were no interruptions. I gathered my courage and asked the question that had haunted me since I woke up. "Vivian, why are you here?" She stared at our intertwined fingers for a long moment, tears glistening. When she finally looked up, her voice was raw with honesty. "When the hospital called, it felt like my whole world stopped," she whispered. "On the drive here, I was shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. All I could think about were the things I never said, the apologies I owed you, the conversations we never finished. I was terrified I'd lost my chance forever." In that moment, I realized the truth I had avoided for years. The divorce had destroyed her too. I had convinced myself she had moved on easily, found peace, left me behind. But she had carried the same regrets, the same quiet loneliness, the same aching what-ifs. That night we talked like we hadn't in years. Honestly, vulnerably. We spoke about pride, about grief, about how small cracks had grown into canyons. We didn't try to win the argument. We simply told the truth. And for the first time in years, the truth felt lighter than the heavy lies we had been carrying. My recovery was slow and grueling. Some days walking across the room felt impossible. Breathing still hurt. But Vivian's presence turned every small victory into something worth celebrating. She cheered for me, encouraged me, and reminded me I wasn't alone. Even the hospital staff assumed we were still married. We didn't rush to correct them. Deep down, a fragile part of both of us wished it were still true. When I was finally discharged, Vivian drove me home. The car was filled with afternoon sunlight and heavy silence. We were both wondering the same thing. What now? Back at my house, the emptiness hit me like a second blow. The place felt cold and hollow. Without a word, Vivian stepped inside and began helping, organizing medications, cooking simple meals, cleaning areas I couldn't reach. Days blended into weeks, weeks into months. Slowly, beautifully, we stopped dwelling on who we used to be and started discovering who we had become. The friendship came back first, gentle and familiar. Then trust. Then laughter that filled rooms again. One peaceful evening we sat on the old porch watching the sunset paint the sky in oranges and pinks. The same porch where we once dreamed aloud about our future. I looked at her, not as my ex-wife, not as a memory, but as the woman who refused to leave when I needed her most. In that golden light, I understood something profound. Real love isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the choice to keep choosing each other even after the mistakes. A year after the accident, I had mostly healed. The scars remained, but they no longer defined me. They reminded me that the worst day of my life had quietly become the beginning of something extraordinary. One bright Saturday, I took Vivian back to the cozy bookstore where our story first began. The same place where she had nervously knocked over an entire display shelf all those years ago. She laughed when she recognized it, the sound wrapping around my heart like it always had. Standing between those familiar shelves, I took her hands in mine. "I don't want to waste another day pretending I don't still love you," I said simply, voice thick with emotion. I never stopped. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't need to speak. Her answer was written across her face. Today, when people ask about the accident, they expect the dramatic details of the crash, the injuries, the hospital drama. But those aren't the parts one remembers most. What I remember most is opening my eyes and seeing Vivian beside my bed, holding my hand through tears, refusing to leave. In that moment, I learned that sometimes love gets buried under pain and pride. But every once in a while, life reaches down and offers a beautiful second chance, if we're brave enough to take it. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Lifeline Vibes for more stories about forgiveness, hope, and second chances. And tell me in the comments, do you believe true love can find its way back after years apart? Because I now know the answer with every beat of my heart. The day I woke up in that hospital bed, I thought I had simply survived a terrible crash. What I didn't realize was that I had also woken up to the greatest second chance of my life.